Welcome to the Brie Pod. I'm here with me, Brie. So this episode is probably going to be pretty short and sweet because we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary for the Brie Pod. As many of you may know, my trailer came out on December 31st of 2020. And then the very first episode came out on January 1st. And then after that, we did every Wednesday. And this year, I'm throwing a party on January 2nd, Sunday. And I'm going to add those details into the description. I'd love for you all to join me because I'm going to share all of the exciting things that are coming up, and there's a lot. There's a special guest that is a huge surprise. I'm just so honored that that person was like, yeah, I'll come on to your podcast and talk. Benji says hello. I'll come on to your podcast and talk with you and share, what she has to share. So I'm so excited. I dropped a little hint there with saying she, so start guessing if you want in the comments. So basically, what I wanted to talk about is last episode, we talked about resolutions and kicking them to the curb. And the reason being is that resolutions are kind of a pain in the booty, Resolutions can be very almost, sometimes I feel like it feels like a weight is on your shoulders because sometimes our resolutions are like, oh, I want to lose weight. I want to gain weight. I want to go to the gym 50 times a day, and I want to make 1,000, no, not 1,000, like 100 grand in the year. And I'm not saying that those things are bad or that you can't get them. It's just when some of these things don't happen, then at the end of the year, we're like, oh, well, I don't feel good anymore. I don't feel like I want to feel like I accomplished something and I didn't. And it's just like when we try to put our resolutions to use or whatever, we try to check them off and we only make it to maybe like halfway through January. So with that being said, last week I had Lisa Chin come on and we talked about having a word for the year, and that changed my life. I mean, before, I have to be straight up honest with you, I did not use resolutions. I honestly didn't even follow them anymore. After a certain age, I mean, the thing is, my resolutions, the things that I thought were something cool to give up or to add to my life or whatever, were ridiculous things because I don't know, I never really took resolutions seriously. I always thought that they would never get accomplished anyway. Like one year, I remember I was like, I'm going to give up M&Ms. Well, I ate M&Ms that year. And it didn't take long. It was probably that same month. So I started to give up on it. And I decided that I was just going to live. And then as of last week, when I heard about having one word for a year, that changed my life because I was like, that's something I know that at the end of 2022, or even if I don't want to end it at 2022, or maybe I change my word in the middle of the year, whatever, I know that I've learned something, I've gained something, I got something out of that word. So to me, that's even deeper, and it's perfect for my personality because I can be like, I can look back and say this word, started off like this. In the middle of the year, it went out like this. And at the end of the year, I learned everything about myself. So, I mean, not everything, because, there's so much to learn. So I shouldn't say everything, but as much as I can. So one of the things that I wanted to share is I decided to look back on my life. And I don't remember if I said this in the last episode or not, but I decided to look back on the year of 2020. So if I could sum up everything into a word, it would literally be power. And it would be, I know this is a cliche, but the Brie Pod is all about taking back your power. And that's exactly what I did. I started at the beginning of that year having an idea to share resources to help people. Once I got myself a podcast coach, I realized that I was involved with a lot of niches. Like I was in mental health, I'm in women's health, I'm in fitness and career and relationships and all these things. And I'm like, I don't know how to put myself in one category. I have no idea. But then I realized that all of those things are calling back your power. So my word came into my podcast, but it also came into my life because in the beginning of 2020, I still was not eating properly. I still was taking people's shit. And I'm just going to lay it on thick. That is what it was. It was shit. And then I still let other people define me. And that is what happens when you have low self-esteem, when you don't feel like you're worthy. But then as I learned and grew and developed a sense of worth through therapy, through fitness, through learning with other people. I mean, for you guys, the guests are probably very helpful, but for me, it is too. Every single episode, I learned something too. And I learned how to take my power back and not give it away so easily like I was doing. Because I always thought that other people were the reason that I couldn't have my power because they'd stole it from me. But then I learned through therapy that I literally gave it to them on a platter. I'm like, here's my power, take it. But now I'm not going that route anymore. Now I have a sense of who I am. I have a sense of worth. I have love for myself. And I actually learned, I feel like I could have almost 10 words for this year, but I learned the true definition of what is selfish. And is selfish actually a negative word? That's something that has been brought up in so many therapy sessions. It's unreal, but it's so true. We always think if we do something for ourselves, selfish. If you stand up for yourself, selfish. Um, everything is selfish, right? But why is that bad? Why is it bad that you're going to have boundaries for people that know that if you don't have those boundaries, they will knock them down? Why is that selfish to say, no, this boundary is staying up, or this boundary will move if I want it to move, or this boundary will be what I want it to be? Sorry, I sound like I'm preaching. I'm not trying to, but I'm just so passionate because throughout this year, I learned so much about myself. I started this podcast off of a depression, off of sadness, off of wanting to be there for others and distracting myself from not getting pregnant. In truth, that was a big part of it. Is I knew that I had a bunch of negative pregnancy tests up to that point, and I needed a distraction. But that distraction turned into everything beyond that I could imagine. It turned into inner understanding, healing shit that I thought was healed, and learning that healing isn't a linear thing. And with all of the guests, I've had so many amazing people come on here and share their stories, share where they got their source of power from, share how they took it back from people that tried to take it. I've had people come on and share about the amazing gifts that they have been given in life, the blessings that they've been given in life, what they did with the hurt and the pain, and how they're human. I mean, one thing's for sure is that we got to realize we're all human. Not everything is going to be perfect. That was the other word. So far, we're up to 3 words. Now we have power, selfish, and perfectionism. I learned about perfectionism and how it holds me back. Perfectionism is supposed to be this perfect thing. Everything's supposed to be aligned exactly how it's supposed to, and almost like the domino effect where you hit the little dominoes and they hit perfectly down this long, very windy, crazy, wild trail. But perfectly, like spaced out and everything. But it's not that way. So a lot of that hurt and upset of not being perfect, I feel like I wasted a lot of time. But I learned that perfectionism is what we are all trying to live up to a lot of the times. It's why we look at Instagram and think, oh my gosh, this person has an amazing life. This person has an amazing life. Why can't I be that person? Why can't I be where they are? But it's because we're not supposed to be number one. And number two, we don't know the other side of it. We only know the highlight reel. And I know we always say this, and there's nothing, please note, there is nothing against a highlight reel. We all do it. So I'm not judging. I put my highlight reel out there, but I'm also sharing my not so highlighted reel, my not so great side in these chats with you, in my unfiltered series, sometimes in my posts, because I am human. I am not perfect. I have done dumb things in my life, I'm sure. And we don't, I shouldn't say dumb, but I've made mistakes. So it's like perfectionism is definitely a word that I learned about this year. So when I looked back, I'm like, this word, this one word a year, technically is going to turn into probably more than one word, but it's so worth it because I like learned so much about myself. I learned so much about these words. I learned so much about people that I'm able to take it and just bring it into my 2022 if I want to work that way, if I want to work in a yearly basis, even though it's really constantly learning and never stop learning kind of deal. In my 2022, I'm taking these words and I'm realizing, okay, this is what their meanings actually mean to me. Because the word that you choose, it's what it means to you, what you learn from that word. Like Lisa said in her episode, she started off with play in one year and she thought that meant physical play, but it turns out it meant play that attached to her inner child. So with all of this being said, 2020 has, of course, it's I don't know why I keep saying 2020. Apparently I'm stuck in 2020, guys. 2021, oh my gosh. It's because I can't accept 2022 is here. It just feels so crazy. All right, so 2021, my bad, y'all. 2021 has been definitely a roller coaster. And clearly it's been so roller coastery. I wasn't even sure of what year I was in. But it's been a lot of lessons. It showed me a lot of love. There's been a lot of hurt. There's been a lot of pain. There's been a lot of happiness. And there's been a lot of sadness. And I am grateful for it all because I've learned so, so much. And with that, I'm excited to see what 2022 has to bring the Brie Pod. There were a couple of times I thought about not doing the Brie Pod anymore because I wondered, is it helping people? Is it worth it? But then I realized at the end of the day, it's not about how many I'm helping people or how many I'm helping. It's not about the numbers of how many are listening or how many are, in some ways in business, yes, it's about numbers. But in this case, I didn't make the podcast for numbers. I made the podcast to help. So even if it was one person, which so far I can count myself because it's helped me so much, that is what it was meant to be. And that is worth it for me. So I know I went on a little tangent there, but I had to share that because I am just so excited that Lisa shared that with me. Like, I know it's been out there, but I apparently lived under a rock and did not know about this. So I'm so excited for that. But yeah, so I have a party coming up. I'm going to be celebrating the 1 year. I literally bought a cake and it sounds delightful. Like they're going to, so I told her that I'm not really a fan of cake. I actually prefer the naked kind of cake because I don't like a lot of frosting. And I actually did this for my wedding. And basically they're going to do like a naked cake with a strawberry jelly kind of thing, like for that middle portion of where the cakes go on top of each other. And then they're going to drizzle it with a chocolate. I think a pink, it's probably going to be white chocolate dyed as pink, drizzled with the chocolate. And then on the top of it, it's going to say the Brie Pod. I am ecstatic for this. This sounds so amazing. The downfall is I don't have many people that are here in the West Coast with me to share it. So it's going to be basically Jeremy and I eating cake. Oh my gosh. But it's okay. It's worth it, right? A piece of cake is worth it. So we're going to be celebrating. I'm going to be going live. And I'm going to be sharing all of the exciting news that I have to share. I'm going to be just basically enjoying this win and win in the sense that we did this for a whole year. Like, whoa, that's so crazy to me. And I feel like I've gotten so much more confident. I mean, listen to my first episode and listen to this episode, and you can see the difference between where I was and where I am, who I was and who I am. It's completely changed. And I'm so happy and grateful that we went forward. I'm so grateful for the people that pushed me forward and said, you should do this. This is good for you. This is good for people. And I'm so proud and thankful for every single one of you that have listened, that have shared, that have even been on the podcast, because a lot of you are so inspiring and so like just amazing. It's just beyond words. So yeah, I'm so excited to celebrate. And I know this episode isn't very like beefy. It's a beefy, but it's just an excitement. It's looking back on the year. Clearly in the beginning of this, I was stuck in 2020, but we're back. We're here in 2021. And I'm very excited. I have a lot of things coming up. The next Unfiltered episode, I will have updates on my health, because we've talked about jaw surgery. We've talked about sleep apnea. So I'll have a bit more updates on that. And the next Unfiltered, whenever that comes in, I have, let's see, to go back on the year, if I could pick a particular episode that really was like a highlight, I mean, I can't answer that because I loved them all. Yeah, I think that all of the episodes really turned out exactly how they were supposed to, and just very inspirational. So I can't really pick one, but what I can say is collectively, I learned so much about self-love, self-worth, advocating for yourself in health, how to support loved ones that are going through things that we just don't understand. We can maybe empathize, but cannot sympathize with. What selfish means, and why is it a negative connotation when really selfish is good? One of the biggest takeaways from that was that, we always talk about how we want to help others, but if we don't have anything I always give the analogy of, we have like this cup. If we have nothing in our cup, how do we give it to others? And that's just like with taking care of yourself, or giving that self-love. If you have nothing to give, why do you think that you can give? You've got to refill that cup. And in order to fill that cup, it is to fill yours first. And I think that was such a huge lesson, because I know for myself, the first thing that I want to do is fill everybody's cup. But if I don't fill my own, especially when it comes to endometriosis, if I don't fill my own cup, I have no energy. I have nothing. I can tell you that the feeling when I am on my period, when I'm in massive pain, I feel so weak that I barely can walk. I can walk a little bit of ways, but I can't go that far. It takes me almost 2 to 3 days to really feel like myself again during that time. And that's what it feels like when you drain yourself and you have nothing to fill others' cups with. So that's why it's so important. Like, it's okay to take care of yourself. So I think that was one of the biggest lessons I learned, if you were to look at all the episodes combined. The other thing is believing in yourself, which really a lot of self-love, which is not selfish. And if it is selfish, it's not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing. So anyway, I know I've gone in circles on that one, but really, I think 2021 brought a lot of good to the Brie Pod. There's more to come. I'm not giving up, even though I thought about it like 20 times during the year. My podcast coach, shout out to Sadie K. She has been amazing. She helped me actually get into a organized manner where I could basically have episodes and not feel so overwhelmed, like, what am I going to talk about next? Where should I go? This or that. She helped me kind of narrow down things that I want to talk about and where to find my guests that align with what I want, which has been fun to really find people that align. So I'm so grateful for you, Sadie. You have absolutely made this podcast flow so beautifully. And also a shout out to my social media manager, Sammy. She just recently started with me not too long ago, but there's been a lot of growth and a lot of wins when it comes to just talking with people. Not necessarily like, what I mean is that I didn't have like a lot of time in the beginning to really put my effort out there like I wanted to. And this definitely helps me get my voice out there and help share and grow. And Sammy has done an amazing job with that. So I got to give a shout out to you, Sammy, because I'm very excited to see where it goes. And what I learned the most, I think, was that you do not have to do everything alone, which, unless you want to be a perfectionist, which sometimes it is a perfectionist thing to do it all alone. Because I am guilty of this, of trying perfectionism. Absolutely. But what I learned is that trying to do everything alone doesn't help me. It just brings more pressure. And when I finally broke down and said, you need help, ask for help, it was given, it was received. And I have the two most amazing people that helped me out and made me get organized, because that was one of my issues, which is kind of funny because if you saw my emails, you'd see that I'm super organized at work. But for some reason, I guess I couldn't balance that throughout everything. But anyway, with all of this being said, I hope you join me. You're all invited, personally invited, to my Brie Pod 1-year anniversary. There will be links attached to this episode, and I hope that you are able to join me. Thank you so much for making this year amazing. Thank you so much for following. I love you all so, so much, and I can't wait to show you what 2022 has to come. And with that being said, you are loved, you are worthy, you are cherished, and I am proud of you. Until next time on the Brie Pod. Bye.